You better believe it. Welcome to Wrestling Uncensored. I am Dave Simon. Johnny North is here with me. Today on the show, the WWE Draft results. Seth Rollins goes to Smackdown. AJ Styles moves over to Raw. And the New Day breaks up. Welcome to Wrestling Uncensored. We'll get to everything in AEW as well. As soon as the show started, my Matt Jackson over here. That's right, I got the new AEW figures. Look at that sweet Matt Jackson. Young Bucks. He fell. I've got Nick Jackson over here. I've got Kenny Omega. I've got all the AEW friends, and we'll talk about AEW a little bit later on. But we're going to talk about some WWE. We saw my man Kevin Owens in the main event of Smackdown this week against The Fiend. And I'm sure we will get to that. But I want to start with the draft and some results that we have so far. Kevin Owens doesn't want to stand, so he'll lie down there, Kevin Owens. Let's talk about the draft and what's happened so far. AJ Styles has moved to Raw, which we told you was going to happen last week on the show. I said AJ Styles, he lost a match clean to... Who was it? Otis? Was it? No, it wasn't Otis. Who was it? Jey Uso, right. Jey Uso. Yeah. I knew it was some tag team guy they're trying to push as singles. Not Otis, Jey Uso. And, he beat AJ. I was like, all right, well, they're writing AJ off from SmackDown with that loss. He's going over to Raw. Paul Heyman's now a fixture on SmackDown with Roman Reigns. We know there's heat there. Move AJ over to Raw, and that's exactly what they did. We told you they were going to do that on our draft preview show last week, and they do it. Not really a surprise. Seth Rollins moving over to SmackDown is interesting. However, Rey Mysterio and his son Dominic are also going to SmackDown. Johnny, I'm sure you're very excited that the Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, Seth Rollins story will continue on SmackDown.
Well, I get why Rey Mysterio went back to SmackDown, because that was kind of his home for like a long period of time in his WWE career. And I guess like the demographics work better for him on SmackDown for whatever reason. But the fact that we have to still see this Seth Rollins thing, I really thought it was going to be over. Like, to me, like they kind of ended on Raw this week. Why does this have to keep going and going? I feel like this should be over. I don't want to see this anymore.
So this week on Raw, they had a lot of time dedicated to this storyline, and I, like you, was hoping at least that they were going to end it, although it did feel kind of open-ended. Seth Rollins and Murphy are in the ring. Murphy wants Seth to apologize to Aaliyah for exposing her personal text messages and causing a rift in the Mysterio family. Seth, refusing to do so, says that he is the Messiah, Murphy is the disciple, and Murphy needs to basically know his role. Seth and Murphy then have a match against Dominic Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo. Murphy got the win, hitting Carrillo with a knee and then pinning Carrillo. Seth kept telling Murphy that he didn't need him during the match. Murphy walked away from Seth after picking up the win. And we weren't done with them because Seth says, Murphy wanted me to apologize. Well, Murphy needs to be the one to apologize to me. And if he doesn't, he's going to suffer the consequences. So Seth goes into the ring, demands an apology, which is something we've seen in the WWE many times before. Wrestlers demanding apologies. It seems very important to WWE superstars to get apologies. So Murphy shows up. Instead of apologizing to Seth, he attacks him, beats on Seth with a kendo stick. Seth, as he's getting beat up, apologizes to Aaliyah because Murphy tells him to. Seth then somehow takes control of Murphy, starts beating on him with the kendo stick, and then Seth goes to hit Murphy with a chair, but Aaliyah shows up, drapes herself on top of Murphy's body to protect him. Seth Rollins backs away. Dominic shows up. He's like, why are you doing this for Murphy? Ray shows up. He's also very confused. The wife showed up as well. Ray's wife. the mother of Aaliyah and Dominic. So that was a long segment, and it was separate from the match that we'd seen earlier in the night. Like, they took a lot of time to further this angle. So Aaliyah and Murphy have something going on, right? Aaliyah's got something going on with Murphy, a friendship or more. Seth is no longer friends with Murphy, and Ray doesn't know what to do, and Dominic is, like, confused as well. Dominic hates Murphy and Seth. Ray seems to feel the same way. Aaliyah is pro-Murphy, anti-Seth. And I just hate everything about the whole story. Aaliyah cutting promos, Dominic wrestling, Ray just standing there. Don't like any of it. Rey Mysterio, the most talented of the Mysterios, is doing the least. Well, I guess Angie isn't doing much either, but Dominic is wrestling every week. Aaliyah is cutting promos. Ray's just like, oh, I don't know. Ray and Dominic drafted to SmackDown. Dominic just kind of an aside to Rey Mysterio. Awful. It's not over.
You also forgot the segment backstage with Aaliyah and Murphy, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was this whole thing, like, he said sorry to her kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was really bad. I mean, just her talking ever. It's some of the worst stuff you'll ever see, I think, in WWE history. It's so bad.
Some of the most
we
obvious rehearsed. Yeah, it's super rehearsed dialogue. It's not good. And we're going to keep seeing it on SmackDown. Do you think they get... I mean, Murphy's going to be drafted to SmackDown now, right? Or does he just stay on Raw and we just forget about the whole Murphy aspect of the story? You'd think that he'd have to move too, right? They're just moving a whole story to SmackDown for some reason?
It sadly seems to be the case for whatever reason. I guess they want to continue this, but I guess for whatever reason on a different show. I'm guessing on Raw they got to focus more on the whole group angle stuff they're doing. So I guess SmackDown's going to get all this stupid Mysterio Rollins stuff now.
Mm-hmm. Were you as underwhelmed as I was by the whole draft? Like, Stephanie McMahon comes out. First of all, she's saying SmackDown drafts this person, Raw drafts this person. Well, who? Who is SmackDown? Who is making these decisions? Who's making these choices?
I thought it was Adam Pearce, no? Like, doesn't he run both shows, kind of?
So
he makes the matches.
So Adam Pearce is both shows? So if you're drafting, like, he's not drafting against anybody, he's just... It doesn't make sense. It's like playing chess against yourself. When you're drafting, when teams draft, there are separate teams, right? I don't understand.
Well, it doesn't have to make any sense, really, because it's the McMahons. They do whatever the hell they want. He was, like, shocked, right? Because, like, when Stephanie showed him the picks, he was like, oh, my goodness.
So Stephanie is the one making the picks. Or Stephanie and Vince just decide? I don't know. Like, Stephanie comes out. As far as I'm concerned, Stephanie is making all the decisions. It's very strange because she's like, SmackDown. Her first announcement, like, you start the show, Stephanie goes, and now Raw drafts Drew McIntyre. I'm like, what? He's already on Raw. And most of the picks, most of the selections were just people staying on their brand. So Drew McIntyre stays on Raw, and then she's like, and Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, staying on SmackDown, or has been drafted to SmackDown, which, like, no, he hasn't. He's just staying on SmackDown. Nothing changes. And then Asuka remains on Raw, and then finally Seth Rollins, he moves to SmackDown. So that was the first move in the first set of picks. And then she's like, and the Hurt Business, which is all four of them, MVP, Bobby Lashley, Sheldon, and even Cedric Alexander, who's been missing for a couple of weeks. COVID. Oh, maybe I'm getting
his wife
it now.
wrestled, though.
Yeah, I know. What's the deal? She was on AEW this week, big swollen, but Cedric Alexander not on Raw for like 2 or 3 weeks now. Very mysterious. Ray mysterious. So Stephanie announces just like, people are staying where they are. And that was most of the draft picks, right?
Well, the rules this year for the draft was that it was open draft. Everyone could be drafted, right? So everyone had to be redrafted, which was kind of stupid for people who've just been traded. So pretty much they could go back to another show that they've already been traded to, like AJ Styles, just traded to SmackDown and suddenly back to Raw. So it was kind of ridiculous. The Manny Rose thing, like the whole thing was that the Miz got her traded. Oh, but no, she got drafted back to Raw anyways. So that kind of kills that anyways. Like that's what kind of ruined this whole draft thing was like, yeah, like just people already on these shows just got put back on these shows. Except for, I guess it was Seth and AJ and New Day.
Yeah, New Day was the big one, I think. So AJ Styles goes over to Raw. Sasha Banks announced as staying on SmackDown. Naomi moves to Raw from SmackDown, so she's moving, which is interesting because Jey Uso announced as staying on SmackDown. Jimmy Uso, no word on Jimmy Uso. He's out with an injury, but he is Naomi's real-life husband. So, what do you think there? Naomi moves to Raw. Jey Uso is on SmackDown. He's in a singles thing, but, you figure the Usos will reunite at some point when Jimmy returns from injury, but now maybe not. Okay, they're not touring. So, if Naomi's on Raw and Jimmy's on SmackDown, it doesn't really matter because they go home at the end of the night. They're not on the road. They're not in separate towns. But when they do start touring again, which, I guess, as I'm saying this, I'm like, yeah, well, when the hell's that going to happen? Cross that bridge when they come to it, right? I guess it doesn't matter. They can separate married couples on this draft because they're all wrestling in the same place. They're not really touring. So it's not the same as when they used to do drafts and they'd keep the couples together because they'd be on the road together, and otherwise they'd be completely separated, and that would be very, very rough on them, right? So I guess Naomi moving to Raw doesn't really mean anything for Jimmy Uso necessarily, but I could see him being separated from his brother maybe.
Well, they did the same thing to Bianca Belair. She's going to SmackDown. More likely, Street Profits are going to stay on Raw. So
no, what do you mean the Street Profits are going to stay on Raw? They are the Raw Tag Team Champions, and the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods have just been drafted to Raw. So Raw has too many tag team champions. So the Street Profits are 100% getting drafted to SmackDown. What are you talking about? Street Profits, Montez Ford, who's Bianca's real-life husband, will be joining his wife on SmackDown. 100%. Why would you think that they would stay on Raw?
So they can have a unification match against New Day.
No. Street Profits are basically like a junior version of New Day's gimmick. They're just basically like a bad version of New Day. A less entertaining, less funny New Day. I don't think they're going to have a match against each other. Unification is not happening. Street Profits are going to SmackDown. Bank on it, John. You want to bet? Don't make wrestling bets against me, John. You always lose.
I should have made it before in the past, but I didn't. But with this one, I mean, you never know with WWE, the way things will go. I mean,
Really?
But I think it's stupid if they do that, though. SmackDown, we'll have, Raw's going to have the SmackDown Tag Champs, and SmackDown's going to have the Raw Tag Team Champions. We're going to have that going forward. That's just stupid.
Well, I mean, if the SmackDown Tag Team Champions are on Raw and the Raw Tag Team Champions are on SmackDown, don't the Raw Tag Team Champions just become the SmackDown Tag Team Champions? Does it really matter? Just change the color of the belts and keep it moving. Who cares? And we said last week that the SmackDown and Raw Tag Team Champions would likely swap. We said it last week. I said this was exactly going to happen. I thought Cesaro and Shinsuke would still be the champions, but Xavier Woods returns after over a year out. Really happy to see Woods looking jacked, baby. big arms, looking great. Kofi returns after a few weeks out. They win the tag team titles, 9-time champs. They move over to Raw. I thought 100%, the singles champions would not be moving, but the tag team champions would be. So I think the Profits are definitely going to SmackDown. It kind of seems obvious to me. I'm surprised that you're not seeing it, John. It'll all become clear to you in time, John. You'll figure it out. That's what you told me before the show. You were like, oh, you'll figure it out. I was like, yeah, well, now you figure it out, John. All right? It'll all become clear to you. You'll see it when the Street Profits are drafted to SmackDown on Monday night. It seems quite obvious to me. Like, the SmackDown champs move to Raw, while the Raw champs are going to move to SmackDown, and they're just going to call them the Raw champs and call the other ones the SmackDown champs and act like nothing ever happened.
I think it's a stupid move, but that's just my opinion.
That is your opinion. Correct. You're stating it, so it must be your opinion. John, what do you think about the New Day breaking up? Big E staying on SmackDown.
Not really breaking up.
Well, they're not on the same show anymore.
Yeah, but you still have like two members as a tag team unit, so and champions. So they're still continuing in a way.
Yeah, but you obviously know what I mean, right?
As a 3-man unit, yeah. But it's better for this way, right? So Big E can become a single star.
Right. So you're happy with it? You're good with the move?
I think this is best for everybody.
Yeah, I like seeing them together, but I think maybe for Big E to flourish as a big-time single star, going out on his own isn't the worst thing for him. I thought his match with Sheamus was very good. The Falls Count Anywhere on SmackDown, very violent, a lot of blood, a little too much egg and flour for my liking, but everything else was pretty good. At one point, Sheamus tossed a bunch of flour and threw a bunch of eggs, just like smashed eggs on Big E. So that was like a little weird in the match. That wasn't the best part. Like when you're in a fight with a guy, do you really want to throw eggs at him? Is that really going to help you win the fight? Or is it just going to make him slippery? So I don't know about that. But the rest of the match I thought was really good. I like that match. I like Big E getting the win over Sheamus. Fantastic stuff. A little bit sad to see New Day break up, though, or separate. They'll be back together one day. I just like those three guys together. They're very good, and they have been for so long. And they've been separate for so long. Like, Woods just came back. Like I said, he's been gone for over a year. We haven't seen these guys together. They reunite, and then they're separated. It was shocking. And they looked pretty mad in the ring. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure most of that was just story, but I'm sure part of that was like, they really do love each other,
Well, it's important that they sell it, because that means it actually means something. If they just were like, oh, whatever, who cares, then you don't care. But the fact that they care, now you care even more.
That's right. You do care. And they're really good at doing that. They're really good at making you care. They're very talented wrestlers. Big E staying on his own hopefully means that he's going to get something big. Could he be the guy to take it off Roman, the Universal Championship? Could it be Big E? Could that be his ultimate destination here on this run?
It's way too early to tell right now. I mean,
yeah,
Sheamus is his first real feud, right? So that's a good start. We'll see what the next thing is. I mean, let's get into some big pay-per-view matches, and then we'll talk.
What do you do pay-per-view wise for Big E next? Like,
Well, I think the big one is going to be Braun Strowman. I don't know when they're going to do that, or maybe Braun's going to go to Raw. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But I think you need something like that. He has to face like a monster and defeat that monster, and then you could start to believe him against Roman.
The Fiend would be a good one too.
I feel like the Fiend's going to Raw. I don't know about you, but it just seems to be the feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, his first match on SmackDown, and then I could see him go to Raw right away.
Yeah, he wrestled on SmackDown. He beat Kevin Owens in the main event after no-selling a pop-up powerbomb through the announce table and then a stunner from Kevin Owens. Maintains the mandible claw through the stunner and pins him. The lights went out after the match. Fiend's standing at the entrance face-to-face with Alexa Bliss. They've got something going on. They're in love, or she's Sister Abigail, or she's been brainwashed, or whatever. But the Fiend likes her, and she likes him, and that's all nice. The Fiend kind of botched the pop-up powerbomb there. You see that? Tried to bring him up, and Bray Wyatt was like not there at all. He slipped, yeah?
I think he slipped. Yeah,
didn't look
that
good.
happens. They get wet, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it happened in the Sheamus and Big E match too, didn't
it? Big E was powerbomb. He just kind of slipped off the car, right? Right?
Yeah.
Big E powerbombed Sheamus on the hood of a car, and instead of just landing splat on the top of the hood, he just got slid off the car, which was kind of a funny moment, but also a realistic moment. Not as bad as the pop-up powerbomb that the Fiend just kind of went, didn't quite fall into. But the match itself was, okay, not bad. What'd you think?
It told a good story. I mean, it wasn't the greatest wrestling match. Again, I agree with you. The first match, probably the best match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the first match seems to always be the best match tonight for SmackDown for some reason. I guess they try to attach people to watch the show right away and then just have to get through the rest somehow. But it told a good story for the most part.
Speaking of get through the rest, that Jey Uso in-ring promo talking about what stipulation they're going to have for their match at Hell in a Cell, and then Paul Heyman shows up, and he's like, when you cross Roman Reigns, this is what happens, and here's a video package. And then Roman Reigns shows up, and he's like fully monotone. Like Roman Reigns is like very, very like boring promo. Talks for a while. He's like, I just want you to recognize me as a tribal chief. I care about you. I love you, but we're going to have a match at Hell in a Cell. It's going to be inside the Hell in a Cell, and it's going to be an I Quit match. 2 stipulations, in a cell and an I Quit. And he says that after Jey quits, there will be consequences for not calling him the tribal chief and giving up when he had the chance. Not great. Not a great promo from Roman. And I don't love the stipulation of Hell in a Cell, but also I Quit. So it's an I Quit match inside the cell. Okay, seems a little much.
Well, they're doing that because there's going to be 3 Hell in a Cell matches now, right?
Yeah.
So it's to kind of make it somewhat different.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. That makes sense. But you should always say, like, when you started like a new like program, we're talking about a new like segment, just say after the video package, because there's always a video package. You have to always watch like a 2 to 5 minute video package for everything, because heaven forbid you missed last week and forgot something. Yeah. I get so sick and tired of these video packages. Wow, like so like every time it's like, well, I could just like take a pee break because they're just going to show a video package, and lo and behold, that's what happens all the time.
That's why I start watching SmackDown on a Friday night at 8:30, so I can skip through. I skip through a bunch of video packages and entrances and commercials, and I usually catch up to the live program by like 9:30. So by 9:30, then I have to sit through video packages and commercials, but you bypass a lot of the nonsense that you don't want to be watching. And I watch Raw on like, Thursday afternoon sometimes, so I bypass a lot of video packages that way. Recorded shows, don't watch them live. Record the shows are a lot easier to sit through. I don't know how people sit through these live shows and actually waste 2 whole hours on this stuff. It is not all that good these days. Stephanie back on the stage. She announced AJ Styles has been drafted to Raw. Sasha Banks remains on SmackDown. Nia Jax and Shayna are remaining on Raw, the women's tag team champions. Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy teamed up to beat Miz and Morrison. Lars Sullivan returned after the match and beat up Jeff and Riddle and The Miz, and then stood there for a long time, just kind of posing, looking all mean. Porno Lars is back. Good to see Porno Lars. I like old Larsy. Big guy. Very big guy. He's got potential, but a lot of knocks against him. Injury prone. They've tried to do this with this guy several times. They've started him. They've stopped him. They suspended him for a racist thing that he said, or fined him. What did they do? They fine him? They fine him for a past.
Fined him, yeah.
Yeah, they fined him for a past racist incident. And of course, there's the porno that he did. They found out that he did a porno. I don't know. Did they know that he had done the porno when he signed the contract, or did they find out about it while he was under contract? I thought they found out about it afterwards and they weren't too happy.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how the whole story went down, but it's out there, right? So,
yeah,
people know about it, but
it's out there.
Whatever.
I've seen some of it. I didn't see the whole thing because I was like, yeah, it's not for me. But I had to see some of it to see what was going on. And when I say it's not for me, it's because it was a man-on-man porno that Lars was in. Surprising. You're like, oh, I didn't know that Lars did a porno with another man. And yeah, I did watch some of it because that's how dedicated I am to this show. I needed to know, like, is this really Lars? Like, did Lars really do this? And I was like, oh my God, yes, he did. And I was like, well, what exactly does Lars do in this movie? He doesn't do much. I'll tell you this. He gets... I'm not going to say exactly. Let's just say that he is on the receiving end of another man's face, right? And
okay.
I don't think he ever wraps up. I don't think he ever seals the deal. I don't think he finishes the job, if you know what I mean. I think he just kind of...
Well, you never finished it, so how do you know?
I think I skipped to the end to see, like, okay, what's going to happen here? You know, you want to see the finish, you know? Sometimes you watch his matches, too. It's the same thing. It's like, all right, skip to the finish. What's the finish of this? And, like, it was a non-finish, you know? Non-finish. Like, Lars Sullivan, very WWE in his porno career, just like a non-finish. I think it went to double. It was a double count out, I think. It was weird. Ref came in.
Could be first part, you know? Sequel, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Porno Lars Part 2. Anyways, Lars is back. I was a bit surprised to see him back. A bit. But, you know. Big guy. Seems like he is dedicated to wrestling. So, see what happens. I don't know. I don't have super high hopes.
He looks smaller than last time. I don't know about you. I mean, maybe it helped that we saw him live, but he just didn't look that impressive compared to what he used to look. And you'd think he'd be even more impressive looking because you look at a guy like Roman who came back more impressive looking, and Lars just seems like less in shape.
Yeah, I don't know. He looked really big next to Riddle and Jeff Hardy. He's bigger than those guys.
Yeah, but they're not exactly the biggest guys. Like, that's not too hard to pull. I mean, he was big against them when he debuted, remember, against the Hardys when he destroyed them? Like, yeah, of course he was big, but I felt he was much more impressive back then.
Did you notice how big Woods looked? Like Woods, he had an Achilles injury, so I guess he's just been working his upper body because he couldn't work his legs. He looked gigantic upper body. He looked huge. Good for him.
Yeah.
Comes back from an injury looking super jacked.
He looked jacked. Kofi looked like super skinny. Like, it looked like Kofi didn't train whatsoever. Like, maybe it's because of Xavier, though. Like, Xavier looks so jacked that it makes Kofi look like so small, but
yeah,
that's what I know.
So the New Day beat Shinsuke and Cesaro to become the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Elsewhere in the draft, Dana Brooke remains on Raw. Angel Garza remains on Raw, even though he's in this NXT New Stars tournament, right?
That's kind of weird that he's put in that. I wasn't unaware of that, actually. Wow.
Yeah. Garza's in this NXT like breakout star tournament, even though he's been on Raw for like a year. Otis is remaining on SmackDown. They were supposed to have a trial with The Miz, but it was delayed. They did a little promo talking about that. It was really bad. And Sasha Banks and Bayley went to a non-finish, as you predicted last week on the show, John. Bayley hit Sasha with a chair. Title match ends. Sasha wins, but by disqualification, so Bayley remains the SmackDown champion. They fight a bit after. The refs separate him. Bayley escapes. And Sasha challenges Bayley to a Hell in a Cell match for Hell in a Cell for the SmackDown Women's Champion. And I do believe that it will happen, right? It's going to happen. We're going to have 3 Hell in a Cell matches on the 25th of October. We'll be here to do a live watch-along on all the channels on the Ringside Report Network. We'll be on Twitch. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be on Facebook on Sunday night, 7 p.m., October the 25th for Hell in a Cell. And it will be Sasha Banks versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title inside the Cell. Roman Reigns defending the Universal title against Jey Uso inside the Cell in an I Quit match, unless Roman loses the title, which, obviously not, right? They book an I Quit. They book an I Quit match, Roman and Jey Uso, that you know is going to happen at Hell in a Cell, right? It's going to happen.
Right.
What are they going to do? Braun Strowman versus Jey Uso at Hell in a Cell? I don't think so. But on SmackDown on Friday night, we're supposed to believe that Roman might lose the title because he's wrestling Braun Strowman and defending the title. It'll be the first time ever that the Universal title's defended on a SmackDown, and Roman Reigns will be defending against Braun Strowman, the former champion, coming up on the next episode of SmackDown on Friday. They're calling it the Premier SmackDown. And also the New Day will have a farewell match, probably the last time for a long time that you'll see Big E, Kofi, and Xavier Woods all together in one match, teaming to face Sheamus, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, why book Roman in a Universal title match against Braun when you know? I mean, come on. A week later, he's defending against the Hell in a Cell against Jey Uso. There's no way. I appreciate the effort, but it's kind of pointless. Maybe wait to book the match until after you have the Braun Strowman-Roman Reigns Universal title match. Do that first, and then make Jey Uso and Roman Reigns official for Hell in a Cell, or then, push a stipulation, but Roman announces, stipulation, I Quit match. And then later on they announce, Roman's going to defend his title before that against Braun Strowman, former champion. Braun doesn't have a shot. It's kind of pointless.
Well, judging what happened on Raw, it seems Braun more than likely is going to go to Raw, right? So they might build this up as a match where it's like if Braun wins, he's going to take the title back to Raw.
Yeah, maybe. Braun Strowman is hanging around Raw. He seems like he loves Raw. He was on Raw this week, and he's like, I know there's no Raw Underground, Adam Pearce, but I need a match. Somebody's got to touch my hands. And then Adam Pearce is like, all right, well, there's no Raw Underground. And no one ever asks, why. But Adam Pearce is like, it just didn't happen for some reason. Adam Pearce is like, okay, I'll tell you what, you're going to be in an exhibition match against somebody. It's going to be a match, but we can't sanction it. It'll be an exhibition because you're not technically on Raw, and you can't wrestle in Raw Underground because it doesn't exist right now. So Braun's like, all right, cool. And then Keith Lee shows up, and he's like, I want this match. And then we go to the unsanctioned match, and the announcers are talking about how Keith Lee and Braun Strowman have signed to this match. What did they sign? It's not sanctioned. And there's a WWE referee to call for the bell in this match, and it goes to a double countout. It's unsanctioned. It's an exhibition. It's not a real match. Yet there is a referee to count them both out. And then they brawled for a while. Whatever, crashed through a bunch of stuff. But unsanctioned, double count out. Right? Am I wrong here, John? Make sense of it. I know you're going to come and be like, well, how are you going to do that here? Come on. What?
Well, I guess in WWE logic, when they make these matches, they actually do have some rules to it, and they agreed to these rules, I guess, prior to the match.
Why?
So
There's no rules on Raw
I don't know why
Underground.
you would. Well, there are some rules to Raw Underground. Like you have to, like, it's over once the guy like can't
No, it's
continue, kind of
over when
thing.
Shane McMahon says, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. That's when it's
Yeah,
over.
when Shane decides that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's over
So
when
there are
Shane
some rules.
decides. Yeah, but this is like, the guy's like, well, you guys, you can't have a real match. It's unsanctioned. Yet there's a referee, and he's there to count them out. Like, okay. It's a little weird. Whatever. But Keith Lee and Braun Strowman looks like a thing that will continue, or maybe that was just like a one-time only. Honestly, I feel like Braun Strowman will move to Raw, but Keith Lee will move to SmackDown. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah, it could have, but they're gonna definitely have another encounter probably this Monday, more than
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah. One more time. But then separate them until you do it again. But I think they each get moved. I think Keith Lee's going to SmackDown. How much did you love the Bianca Belair trivia game promo video package where she is not only the strongest or the fastest, she's the smartest, and she was playing a game of trivia of some sort with her friends, her hired friends, and she was winning because she had all these brilliant answers. What a terrible goddamn segment that was. Shit, that was bad.
Well, honestly, they're trying to build her up as the next like big heel on SmackDown. I think it's working. Like, I
Heel?
honestly like, oh yeah, to me, like she's the biggest heel. Like, what a jerk. Like, if you're the smartest, you're the strongest. Like, to me, you're the biggest jerk.
Oh, I don't know. You just hate greatness, John. That's your problem. If you're the
No,
smartest and you're the
because
strongest and you're the fastest, well, you're the best. Bianca's the
yeah,
best. I
but
like Bianca.
the way she rubs it in people's face like that, though, that's the problem. Like, she has an attitude problem.
Ah, Johnny doesn't like the attitude. Well, Bianca's going over to SmackDown, so they will deal with her attitude over there.
They needed
So,
that too. There's not a lot of women on SmackDown.
no? Well, they lost one, too. Naomi's gone.
They lost Dana Brooke. Well, officially, right? Because like she never actually officially went to Raw. I don't know what happened with that. They're just she's magically on Raw. But yeah, her Mandy went to Raw. Like who's left on SmackDown? Like Bailey for now. She hasn't been drafted yet. But it's like what Sasha and Bianca, right? Like is that it for
Lacey,
now?
Alexa,
Okay,
Nikki Cross.
4, 5. All right,
I don't know.
I think that's it.
You
Tamina,
move.
I guess, right?
You could bring Ember Moon to SmackDown at some point. She's in NXT again. She could come back.
Yeah. Well, no, she went to NXT. She isn't coming back. She just went back to NXT.
That's it. She's just NXT now.
She's happier there. It's fine.
That was weird. That whole NXT thing. The returns there, how they did it. Did you watch the takeover last week?
I only saw the highlights, and it seemed like some parts were good and some parts were very forgettable.
I didn't love it. I really didn't.
The main event seemed pretty good.
What was the main event? Finn and what's his name? Yeah.
O'Reilly?
Meh. I've seen better. It was just weird the way Io Shirai, she won her match, and then Toni Storm appeared on the big screen, and she's like, oh, I'm coming back to NXT. And I was like, oh, okay. And then they cut outside, and then somebody's on a motorcycle, and then they show up to the building, and it's like, oh, is that Toni Storm? Because she just did a promo. And it's like, no, it's Ember Moon. It's like, why did they just do 2 returns in one little segment? It was very strange. It's weird the way they did it. Ember Moon's return was like, are you Toni Storm? Oh, no, you're Ember Moon. So why did I just see Toni Storm on that video? What was that? Weird. I didn't like it.
Them jam-packing too much into one show.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Retribution has a leader. Okay? Retribution is now being
And they
led
lost a
by...
member.
They did?
You know, they had like 2 women in the group. Now there's just 1 woman, apparently.
Really? Who?
Yep.
Is it Mia Yim?
No, she's still there.
Okay.
It's Martinez. She's not there anymore.
How come?
I have no idea. Apparently, I guess she went back to NXT for whatever reason.
But they had a bunch of masked guys, right? They had they had foot soldier guys. Like they had their main guys, Teabag, D-Bone, whatever. And then they had
Ninjas, actually.
ninjas. They had some of Tozawa's ninjas with them too. So, okay, I want to talk about Retribution and their new leader. But I'm going to tell you first about our friends over at Manscaped. You want to go to manscaped.com. You want to get some great Manscaped products. They've got the Lawnmower 3.0 now available in Canada. It is a tremendous razor. Get you a nice, close shave in all the areas you need them. Shave your area, shave your balls, shave everything. Get nice, smooth, a clean shave, a nick-free shave. No stress, no worries. Get right down to the skin with this thing. It is the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. It's now available. They've got so many great products over at Manscaped to keep you smelling fresh, looking good. The people that see your balls will thank you. Manscaped.com. Use that promo code Ringside20 for 20% off your order plus free shipping. That's Manscaped.com. Use the promo code Ringside20 and get yourself the Lawnmower 3.0 now available in Canada. Believe me, Johnny loves it. I love it. We all love it. The whole Ringside Report team loves it, and you will love it too. Support yourself and support the Ringside Report Network by going to Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com and use that promo code Ringside20. Retribution has a leader. What?
I just want to say I can't say enough good things about the ball deodorant. I don't know how I lived without it before. Like, it's fantastic.
Good. Good. Well, I'm glad that your balls smell good, John, because before, my God, it's like from a mile away. From a mile away. It's like, what is that, balls?
Well,
terrible.
I mean, let's just face it. When you wake up in the morning, you have a boner, like, you know, your balls are kind of sweaty because of that, right? Because they've been raging for so long. So you need that, you know, deodorant. Makes sense, no?
I don't know. Honestly, erections don't make me sweat. I think that might be a circulation problem you have, John. You might want to get that checked out. That doesn't sound good. Sounds like you have a circulation issue.
It's just the way it is when you have at night, you're very warm, your body gets warm, temperature rises, everything rises. Just the way it is.
Alone in your bed?
But now with deodorant, well, with my things, of course. Yeah, of course.
Your things?
Well, yeah, you don't think I have toys? Like, come on.
Oh.
But that's not Manscaped, so we don't have to talk about that, I guess.
Do you
They aren't
really?
paying us for that.
Do you really? You're a man with sex toys? I mean, I don't want to talk about anything else right now but this. Really? Is that a shoot, John? You have sex toys? Dude, men with sex toys is like a whole other type of man. I had no idea. Did you just admit something shocking on the show? You what?
I don't think
now?
it was that shocking. Like,
I'm
50
shocked.
Shades of Grey. Is it that shocked? Like,
whoa, what kind of toy?
North.
So what kind of gimmicks do you have?
Oh, nothing great. You've actually seen them, actually. You just forgot about them, actually.
I don't think I've seen anything. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you've seen some
No,
stuff.
I've definitely not seen that.
Forgot.
I've definitely not. I would not forget.
Oh, okay.
Specify. Now. I demand.
Oh, it's just material. That's it. A lot of it's just material. Reading material.
Reading material?
Yeah.
That's not a sex toy. You're talking about...
Well, that's how you use it.
You wrap a book around your dick? What the hell's the matter with you?
You're getting way too Pacific here. Like, we got to get back into Manscaped and why it's great to use.
You say Pacific?
I may have said that because you're in the Pacific. I'm in the Atlantic.
No.
Obviously.
No.
Division.
No. See, you're just trying to to change the subject here, John, because you admitted you have sex toys, and then you start talking about books, some sort of books that you have. I don't know what's going on over there, John, but you just you just go into these weird areas sometimes, and I'm like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Male sex toys. Shocking. Anyways, Anyway, I want to move on and talk about wrestling. And Mustafa Ali, who doesn't have male sex toys either, okay? Because he's a guy who doesn't do that, as far as I know. He told me. What the fuck are we talking about? John, you fucked up the show now. I can't think of wrestling.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Get the head back in the game. Come on.
Don't say head. So Mustafa Ali is the leader of Retribution. So it's MVP versus Mustafa Ali. It goes to a no contest when MVP's like, forget this match. Bobby Lashley, Sheldon Benjamin, come into the ring. And then Retribution shows up, and Mustafa looks like he's going to like fight with Hurt Business, be on their side, but then he goes to see Retribution, and he's like, hey, get him. And then all the Retribution guys with the ninjas, they all show up. They beat down the Hurt Business. Samoa Joe's like on commentary, right? He's like, how long has Mustafa been planning this? So they're trying to make you think that Mustafa Ali was the hacker on SmackDown, and he's been planning this whole assault against WWE. That's what Johnny North has been trying to tell you. He put out a clip where I'm like, yeah, right, this isn't going to be a long-term story. You're trying to make me look bad for some reason on Twitter. Again, John, I don't know why you try to bury me on the show in public, but hey, that's your public persona. I don't get it, but it is what it is. So, Mustafa has definitely not been planning this the whole time. They're just like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Let's make Mustafa Ali the leader. Let's do that, I guess, because they don't know what they're doing with Retribution. They haven't had a plan from the start. And, that's clear when they have, what's her name, Martinez as a member, and then she disappears. She's no longer a member. They don't have a plan. They don't know what they're doing. And Mustafa Ali randomly jumping in and becoming their leader. It's like, oh, yeah, well, we have Mustafa Ali. We don't have anything to do with him. Let's make him the leader of Retribution. So that's what that is. So now Mustafa is with Retribution. And he appears to be their leader because they did a pose in the ring, and he stood in the front of them, right? And they all beat up the Hurt Business, but Mustafa didn't do anything. He just watched. He told them to do the thing, and then they went and they did the thing, and he watched them do the thing, so he's the leader. But, like, come on. The hacker is all related to this Retribution thing? What about all the time in between the hacker and Retribution when Mustafa Ali was doing nothing except, like, jobbing in random babyface matches? Come on. No, I don't accept that.
Okay. Well, the thing is, like, you complained that Retribution and the Hurt Business, it was heels versus heels. Now it feels like they somewhat turned Retribution face, right? Because the Hurt Business got what they deserved. Like, they were picking on Mustafa Ali and his friends, and then Mustafa Ali got even.
But what about Apollo Crews and Ricochet? How do they fit into all of this? If the Hurt Business are baby faces, how do Apollo...
They?
Well, okay, no. So you're saying Hurt Business are heels and Retribution are the baby faces?
To me, that's how it seemed. Like, I don't know how you looked at it. That's how I looked at it.
Retribution, the group that has been assaulting the WWE, the group that, ran amok on SmackDown, beat up poor Tom Phillips at one point, right? They're beating up Big E. They beat up a lot of good people. Now they're baby faces? I don't buy that.
To me, it just seemed like their motives were justified in a sense, that a lot of them have been held down. Mustafa Ali is a great example of that. And they had to go to extreme lengths to get over.
Okay, so you see them as the babyface. I don't see them as a babyface group. I don't really see them as much, but they are existing now, and Mustafa Ali seems to be a part of them. I don't know. I see this as the WWE's version of Antifa. And I find it interesting that Mustafa Ali is their chosen leader.
Well, I find it interesting that they're just giving a bunch of new guys opportunities, and they're giving them a major spot too. I actually like seeing that. To me, this is Nexus like 3.0 in a sense.
I don't think Nexus 1.0 or 2.0 were very good. That's why I don't have high hopes for this group. When one of the guys' name is Teabag and the other guy's name is Dinobot or whatever, like, get out of here. What are their names?
Slapjack, Mace.
Slapjack, Mace, and T-Bone?
Slapjack's pretty good.
Slapjack? Slapnuts.
I believe it's T-Bar, yes.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I hate it. I don't like the names. I don't like the look of the group. I think it's silly, and I don't like anything that they've done so far. So Mustafa Ali is the leader. Whatever. I don't care. I really don't care. I don't know what they're going to do there, but I don't think that they're baby faces, John. But who knows? There's no crowd. How can you tell? I'll tell you how you can tell whether they're heroes or baby faces. With the Thunderdome, WWE tells you to cheer or boo. So if you see a lot of people behind Retribution doing this, that means they're heels. But I guess when Retribution shows up, the Thunderdome goes black, right? There's no people. So you don't know if they're heels or baby faces. You have no idea. There's no way of knowing because they seem to be heels, but they also kind of seem to be feuding with a heel group, so maybe not. It doesn't really make sense. Like, it would make sense for Retribution to be heels or baby faces because they're with Mustafa Ali and Apollo Crews and Ricochet are baby faces, and they were with Mustafa Ali, and Mustafa Ali hasn't really turned his back on them. He's turned his back on the Hurt Business, who he never liked in the first place, right? So I guess they could be baby faces, but the Retribution has also been positioned as a heel group for a very long time, beating up anybody and everybody in WWE, and mostly baby faces. Retribution on SmackDown was clearly a heel group, right?
Well, the way they would chainsaw the ropes and everything, yeah, it seemed they were kind of evil. And they just beat up people randomly like that. Yeah, it seemed like it. But now it seems like they have a bit of a reason why they're doing everything they're doing. Plus, they're signed to contracts, so they're kind of given like the reason to do it because they were signed to do this. So, I mean, they're just doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, whatever. We'll continue to see what Retribution does going forward. Randy Orton cut a promo to start off Raw. This was not a good way to start Raw. He talked and talked and talked. Eventually, he got around to challenging Drew McIntyre to a Hell in a Cell match, but Randy talking about the revenge that he got on Big Show and Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair and Christian last week. He just went on and on and on. And miraculously, as soon as he was done his promo, Drew McIntyre shows up in the backstage office that Randy was in and starts brawling with Randy. Refs and suits pull them apart. Randy stumbled away. Not a good way to start off a wrestling show, with a super long promo from Randy that felt like it would never end.
Well, I feel like the problem with this was like it wasn't just a promo; it was also a recap within a promo because he was also like flashbacking during the promo. Like it would have been just better if he just talked about this is what happened and not with the flashbacks. Like I liked him talking about how he beat them up when the lights went off. I like that. But the fact that we had to see everything and then back to Randy and then flashback again, like that was way too much. It didn't need to be that long.
It was a classic, Randy Orton style promo that we've seen him do a million times. A promo that we saw Seth Rollins do a million times when he was the corporate heel. Triple H did the same style promo a million times when he was in his prime as the champion. It's like, last week I did this and this and this and this, and I'm going to tell you exactly what you saw last week in great detail, and then I'm going to tell you why I did it, which you already know in great detail, and then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to beat this guy that I'm talking about in great detail. And it took forever, but it felt like, something I've seen before from Seth and Triple H and Randy himself. It's just like, yeah, same old thing here. Drew McIntyre shows up, whatever. Except usually it's in the ring, right? Usually it's in the ring, but this time it was in an office. That's the only difference. The only thing, I guess, original from this terrible opening segment for Raw. Terrible.
Well, and also got to the point eventually was that Randy challenging Drew for the Hell in a Cell WWE Championship match.
You like Randy, and even you thought that this was bad, right? This was not Randy's finest moment.
Well, I don't completely blame Randy. It's just the way it's set up, and it's like, what can you do with that? Like, he did what he could with that, but it's just poorly put together, unfortunately.
Speaking of poorly put together, how about this 6-woman tag team? Asuka, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose. Strange pairing. Asuka did not look like she fit into this match. Here's Asuka teaming with Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose against Lana, Zelina Vega, and Natalya. I mean, Natalya, okay. Natty Neidhart. But there was a lot of Lana and Mandy Rose wrestling in this match. Mandy got the win for her team, pinning Lana. Yeah. Any match that has Mandy Rose and Lana in it, I don't know.
Well, we didn't get the Brainbuster Sidewalk Slam this week, so there was some improvement, but still very sloppy match overall. I mean, I think you had Asuka and Natty in there to kind of keep it under control, and even they could not keep it under control. No. It was still a mess. Went off the rails, I feel like a bunch of times. I'm like, this is the way you start Raw? With a sloppy match like this? Not a good start.
Terrible Randy promo, and then a terrible 6-woman tag. Yeah. I felt bad for Asuka and Natty in that one. And then R-Truth stuff happened. Drew Gulak took the 24/7 title from him. And then at one point, Drew, Truth, and Tozawa are all in a trash bin, right? What do you call that? A trash bin?
Yeah, like one of those mini dumpster kind of things.
Yeah, dumpster, right? Which is where all of this stuff belongs, in the garbage, thrown out, never to be seen again. But instead, they're all in a dumpster, and there's a referee outside of the dumpster, and he counts 3 on the dumpster without seeing anybody actually getting pinned inside the dumpster. 1, 2, 3, and then R-Truth emerges as the new 24/7 champion again somehow. Like, I get it. It's a joke. It's comedy. It's R-Truth. It's a 24/7 title. But when you have a referee who is not always a joke, not even giving a shit about if he sees a pinfall or not, it's like, well, are these referees jokes as well? How are you supposed to take refs seriously or pins seriously or wrestling seriously if there's a title on the line and a referee won't even look to see if somebody's getting pinned? He's just going to pin, he's going to count 3 on the outside of the dumpster, and oh yeah, Truth won. Because wrestling is just a fucking cartoon. It's just, you make wrestling look bad when you do that. You make everything else on your show look bad when the referee's there and he's like, yeah, whatever, 1, 2, 3, I don't see what's going on, who cares? Let's just keep this going. That was maybe my least favorite 24/7 segment ever. And there have been a lot of bad ones. I like R-Truth. I'm actually a fan of his, and I think that he does great work. But the writing in this one was pretty poor, and it made everything look bad. It made the WWE look bad when the referee is doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that part wasn't great. I like the beginning part, though. Like the first segment where Drew Gulak was dressed up as a janitor,
Mm-hmm.
and R-Truth kept saying, "Randy Orton, I know it's you, Randy Orton," and like Randy Orton, why are you dressed up as Drew Gulak? Like that was good.
Yeah.
I like that part. Then it went downhill with the whole dumpster thing.
Yeah. Usually the things go downhill once the dumpster gets involved, right? Once a dumpster is inserted into the equation, things generally don't pick up. Unless Mick Foley and Terry Funk are involved. Then, they can make it work. The only time I've ever seen a dumpster used well in pro wrestling is with Foley, Funk, and the New Age Outlaws. And that was probably 20 years ago, right?
Maybe more.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, more than that, yeah.
A little bit more. So, yeah, WrestleMania 14. Good match. Go back and watch it. Don't watch this dumpster fire of a wrestling show. Now, Kevin Owens hosts the KO show. He talks about being changed by the Fiend. This promo was weird. There was like an element of Kevin Owens that was told to act like everybody else does when they face the Fiend and act like, oh, scary, and he did something to me and he changed my soul. But Kevin Owens also was trying to like stay true to himself and be like, I gotta face Aleister Black and now Bray Wyatt. Who's next? The Brood? The Ministry of Darkness? Like, he was still kind of making Kevin Owens style jokes. He still wanted to fight the Fiend. He was like, come on out and fight me. I just want to beat you up in the ring. There were elements of the promo that were good, but there was also clearly the direction given to him. Talk about how he's changed you. Talked about what it's like to be in his presence. Talk about all the goofy, phony, mystic, magic, hocus pocus bullshit. Because that's what the whole Fiend thing is about. And Kevin Owens didn't really sell that very well because it's fucking stupid. And his promo suffered because of it. Right? You noticed that too, right? He's trying to be Kevin Owens, but then he knows he has to do this dumb Bray Wyatt shit, so he throws a few lines in and hopes that he doesn't get in trouble when he's done. That's what it felt like to me. Like, I think if Kevin Owens were in any other promotion and they told him to go and act like he was scared and change, he'd be like, go fuck yourself. I'm not doing that. But because in WWE, you got to do what they tell you, he did what he was told, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, he's selling the story, and I get that, but I also agree with you where the sense where it's kind of a weird transition where it's like he's selling the story and then he tries to be himself, and it's like, well, this doesn't fit. Like when he brought up the Ministry of Darkness and the Brood, it's like, well, that was a weird way to turn it around when you're just like, I'm scared, and then you're talking about this. Now you're kind of like joking about it. Like,
yeah,
it was just really off the way he did it. Like it felt like he was trying to do two promos at once.
Yes. It felt like two different promos combined into one. And it was like one sentence would be like, he's changed me. I don't know how I'm going to be the same guy. But I'm just going to beat him up. That's all I don't care. Just beat his ass. But I might be brainwashed. But fight Owens fight. It was very strange. Very strange. Ministry of Darkness. Ha ha ha. I was like, huh? How could you be scared of him but also making jokes about him? Like, I don't... Like, okay, he's got a darkness gimmick, and you're kind of making fun of him as, like, what is he, part of the Brood or something? What are you, Gangrel? You think I'm scared of you? But I feel like that's the promo he wanted to cut, but WWE told him to do something else, so he tried to make both things work. Just go out and try to make them both work, Kevin. Both ideas work. Okay. Didn't work. Did not work at all. Yeah, a lot of things not working on this show. Bobby Lashley and Sheldon Benjamin beat Ricochet and Apollo Crews again. Again. Ricochet and Apollo Crews are like the jobbers of all jobbers. They can't win a match, especially Apollo. Like, at a certain point, Apollo should just give up because Bobby Lashley beats him at every turn, made him tap to the full Nelson again. Just quit, Apollo Crews. Like, Bobby Lashley's better than you. It's okay to admit when somebody's better. But, like, really?
Well,
how many times is this going to happen?
I think Apollo's going to SmackDown. I don't know about you, because like you say, like he loses all the time, so kind of needs to go to SmackDown and get a fresh start.
I thought he just got a fresh start. He was U.S. champion. They were doing something with him. Now?
Oh, that died quick.
He should just join Retribution, shouldn't he? Shouldn't he and Ricochet join their friend Mustafa Ali in Retribution?
I would think that's what's going to happen. Like, they're going to offer, I would think, no?
I don't know, man. This Retribution thing is really odd. Shayna and Naya beat Ruby Riot and Liv Morgan. Shayna choked Ruby unconscious and would not let go after the match. Liv sold it pretty well. Like, get off of her, you're going to kill her. Liv looked legit concerned for her friend there, Ruby Riot. Ruby was killed by Shayna in that match. Rest in peace, Ruby.
Well, the only problem I had was, like, Liv, instead of trying to, like, rip the hold off, maybe go for the eyes instead. Because, like, if you go for the eye gouge, they'll automatically try to get the hold off right away. Because the eyes are more important than trying to rip off her stronger arms than yours.
That's right. You go for the eyes. Because as the great Dwight Schrute once said, right? Dwight from The Office. His advice, he said, the eyes are the groin of the face. Very astute observation.
I forgot about that, but that rings us a bit of a bell, so yeah,
Makes
that's pretty
sense.
good.
I like that just in fighting. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the groin is a terribly weak point, of the body. You kick somebody anywhere, but the groin, and you'll do some damage. Kick somebody in the groin, oh, big pain, right? You punch me in the cheek, you punch me in the nose, you punch me in the mouth. Yeah, it'd be bad, but you poke me in the eye, punch me in the eye, way more damage. That's why, like, you're allowed to uppercut somebody in the UFC, but you can't stick your finger in their eye. Because that's it's too much.
Happens all the time.
Even though it happens constantly, okay? Some guys do it on purpose. John Jones. Just saying.
Wow, I thought you liked him. Wow.
I do like John Jones, but I recognize that he uses some very sneaky finger techniques that are perfectly legal as long as the referee doesn't take points away, which they never do. They warn you, and then they warn you, and they warn you again. I've heard MMA coaches tell their fighters, like, look, if you're in trouble, knee your opponent in the groin. Like, just hit him in the groin as hard as you can. Make it look like it's an accident, but knee him in the groin. Look like you're going for the body, but you go too low and you knee him in the groin if you're in trouble in the fight. You're not going to lose the fight, most likely. Your opponent will be hurt. He'll get 5 minutes to recover. But then after, he'll be hurt a little bit. You'll get some time to breathe, and you can keep on going. You'll just get a warning. That's MMA, man. It's a shady game. Shayna knows all about that. Shayna is a badass. She looked big. She looks like almost as big as Naya. Shayna is tall. Ruby and Liv looked tiny next to those two. Looked tiny. Ruby, she's got the tattoos and the hair and the, look, but she's so small, she doesn't look intimidating. When she's on her own, just in the ring, she looks intimidating, but then when you put her next to anybody with any kind of size, she looks tiny and just, sad. It's weird. She's got the gimmicks, but as far as the physical, aspect of it, the real, the size, the strength, the musculature, she's not tall, but she's also not thick. She's very skinny. Liv, that's part of her look, but Ruby, I'd want her to look a little bit more dangerous. Next to Shayna and Naya, she looked like a total jabroni. She did not look good next to those two. It's unfortunate.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Naya dwarfs most of the women in WWE, even dwarfs some of the men even. So
yeah,
and Shayna, let's face it, Shayna could beat up most of the men actually in WWE. So
she's big though too.
Yeah, well that's it. She's gonna make the women look bad. She can make some of the men look bad. So yeah, it's tough to have competition in these kind of matches.
Shayna could beat up a lot of men in the WWE. She's very tough. I'm sure Naya could beat up a lot of men in WWE. I think Randy Orton could beat up a couple men in WWE if he tried really hard and he was on his best day. He and Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler beat Drew McIntyre and the Street Profits in the main event of Raw. Randy getting the pinfall on Drew after hitting him with the RKO. Whew, that was a stinker. I did not like that match at all. I was like, this is the main event? This is how we're going home from Raw? Okay. Next. Not great.
Well, no, but you know what the point of that was that finally Randy gets a win over the champion.
Yeah.
Thus why he deserves a rematch against the champion, though makes me worry a bit. I mean, if he pins Drew now, I mean, is he going to pin him again in Hell in a Cell? Lowers his chances, unfortunately.
No, he will not. Randy's not taking the title from Drew. I don't know why you keep thinking he will. Didn't you say that he was going to a Clash of Champions? That didn't happen. You thought Randy was going to win the ambulance match. You thought Randy was going to win at SummerSlam. You keep predicting Randy to beat Drew, and it's not happening. So I don't think it happens at Hell in a Cell either, John. Sorry to burst your bubble. Big Randy mark over there. What's going on?
Gotta believe, man. Just gotta believe. He said it's never going to be over, so...
Oh, God. I hope it does end at some point because it's not good. Let's talk about AEW, all right? Let's talk about some good wrestling. I actually watched Dynamite and Raw back-to-back. I had Raw and Dynamite to catch up on. I hadn't watched anything, right? I hadn't watched any of the shows. And it got to Friday morning, and I was like, oh, I better start watching some of this wrestling so I could talk about it with Johnny. So Friday morning, I watched AEW because I was like, okay, I got to watch wrestling. What do I want to watch? Well, I want to watch AEW. I don't want to watch Raw. So let's watch AEW. So I watched Dynamite, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is a pretty good show. You know, it was all right. It wasn't the best episode of Dynamite, but it wasn't the worst. I enjoyed it. And then I watched Raw. And, 30 minutes into Raw, I've seen Randy Orton talk, and then the 6-woman tag with Asuka and Mandy and Dana Brooke against Lana and friends. And I was like, whoa, this is horrible. Just the comparison. If you watch AEW and then you watch Raw, jeez. I don't know about you, John, but I watched the shows back-to-back this week, and, I didn't think AEW was great, but Raw, in comparison to Raw, it was amazing. Raw was so bad. So bad. The Seth stuff, the Ray stuff, Aaliyah, Randy and Drew, Street Profits, Robert Roode in the main event for some reason. Wow, Raw was bad this week. Shockingly bad.
I thought Raw wasn't that bad.
Well, you didn't watch it after Dynamite.
Yeah, that's it. It's just the way you watched it. And to watch it, you're kind of cramming in all your wrestling right away. That's really hard. I mean, and to be fair, I think Raw, out of all the WWE shows, if anything, it's NXT, SmackDown, then Raw in terms of the quality, I find. And the problem is, too, Raw, it's just way too long. And it just drags. The problem, and there's far too many low moments compared to good moments on Raw. That's the problem I find with Raw.
Hard to watch. Hard to sit through. I don't hate SmackDown. I kind of like SmackDown. NXT, I watch here and there the weekly TV shows I don't watch every week because I don't care. And I watched all the takeovers. I watched TakeOver last Sunday. And I didn't love that either. I liked AEW this week. I really liked the Chris Jericho salute to 30 years of Jericho in the wrestling business. The stars that they were able to bring out. I mean, not in the building, but send out little videos to Chris Jericho. I thought a tremendous lineup. From music and Hollywood and professional wrestling, I'm going to run down the list of people that showed up, sent videos to Chris Jericho. Slash.
Good list.
Slash, the guitarist, right? from Guns N' Roses. Dennis Miller, famous comedian, Saturday Night Live, Dennis Miller show. You all know Dennis Miller. The ace of the universe, Hiroshi Tanahashi from New Japan Pro Wrestling. They got the ace. Go ace.
In English.
In English. Unbelievable. Tanahashi congratulated Chris Jericho. Like I was blown away when I saw Tanahashi. I was like, yo, they got a New Japan guy? That's crazy. Tana? They got Tana? I love Tana. And then, of course, Jericho's dad, Ted Irvin. Bubba Ray Dudley, famous Dudley boy. Shaquille O'Neal. Gene Simmons from Kiss. Don Callis, who's a Impact Wrestling, like he runs Impact Wrestling, right? He's on AEW TV. So they had a New Japan wrestler and an Impact Wrestling, bigwig. Nobody from WWE.
Well, that's obvious.
Okay? Gene Simmons, Don Callis, Lars Ulrich, drummer from Metallica. Okay? Lars from Metallica, dude. Who, very busy, doesn't give a shit about anybody but Lars, and apparently Jericho, too. DDP, which, yeah, okay. Who else do they have?
Ultimo Dragon.
Lance Storm, Kevin Smith, Eli Roth, Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian, Chavo Guerrero, Chavito, Steel Panther, whoever they are, some rock band, Ultimo Dragon, wrestling legend, the Ultimo Dragon, one of my favorites. Back in WCW, in the Cruiserweight division, Ultimo Dragon was my favorite. Ultimo Dragon and Dean Malenko series of matches, go back and watch that. Ridiculous. And Paul Stanley from Kiss as well. The list of guys. Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, / Kevin Smith, Lance Storm, Tanahashi, Don Callis, Chavo. A ridiculous Shaq for some reason. Ridiculous list.
Match against Jericho.
Right. I mean, that is amazing. Dennis Miller for some reason? What? I was very impressed with the list of people saluting Chris Jericho on the 30-year anniversary. Didn't it feel like a big deal? It felt like they were really honoring Chris Jericho. Felt like they turned him babyface, too. We'll talk about that by the end of the night.
Yeah, sort of with that. I like the opening, how the opening wasn't the traditional Dynamite opening. It actually was like a Chris Jericho opening. That's what kind of made it special for Jericho, I found, where it's this really is a Chris Jericho special. Because it's pretty much just about Chris Jericho.
And they also had heels and babyfaces talk about how big of an impact Chris Jericho has made in their lives and their careers as wrestling fans. Which was interesting. Jericho has, been positioned as a heel, yet the fans sing his song when he comes out. Even the babyface wrestlers sing his song when he comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And the babyface wrestlers were celebrating him on the show. So, by the end of the night, it was Chris Jericho and Jake Hager beating Luther and Serpentico. Jericho hitting Judas Effect on Luther for the pinfall. Jericho and Luther started out together. Been around for a very long time. So that was kind of a nice moment for Jericho and Luther to have that. The match itself was not the best on the show.
Not even close to the best on the show. I mean, it really was just a moment for Jericho and Luther, pretty much.
Yeah.
That. If you look in terms of quality, that should have been an opening match at best.
Yeah, but it was the 30 years of Jericho, so you had to give him the main event, and you really had to do it because he had the whole promo with MJF, who came out afterwards. Jericho starts thanking the fans after winning the match. Very babyface-style promo, but then MJF shows up, interrupts him. Wardlow's there. He's got somebody under a sheet. MJF presents Clownico the Clown. It's a clown. The clown has a gift for Jericho, and MJF tells Jericho that next week he's going to make a career-defining announcement on Dynamite, and he wants Jericho to be there. I wonder what that might be. MJF's gift to Jericho is a portrait of himself. Jericho smashes the picture over the clown's head and hits the clown with the Judas effect. Jericho gets real serious, and he says he hates clowns and tells MJF to never interrupt him again. And they look all hard at each other until Jericho breaks the mean look and starts laughing and says, "Oh, it's okay, we're all buddies here." And then MJF leaves, and a bunch of heels come out to celebrate in the ring, and there's credits for some reason at the end of the show, and camera one is Chris Jericho, directed by Chris Jericho, written by Chris Jericho, created by Chris Jericho. All the credits roll, and Chris Jericho has done everything for the show. It's kind of like the end of a Saturday Night Live or something, except it's Jericho themed, which I thought was funny. Nice little end to the episode of Dynamite. MJF and Jericho seem like they're on a collision course, and I expect them to wrestle each other at Full Gear, which will take place November 7th. So we're getting there. We are 1, 2, 3, 4 more episodes of Dynamite before the pay-per-view. We're less than a month away from Full Gear on November the 7th. So I think you could push this thing all the way and do Jericho MJF Full Gear.
Now, not just a singles match. I feel like it might be for the leadership of the Inner Circle, because that's the way it seems like it's shifting right there, where it's like MJF wants to be in a group, right? So put that on the line, perhaps.
Wow. That'd be interesting. I like it. MJF versus Jericho, maybe for the leadership of the Inner Circle. Not bad. John Moxley did a promo video about his match with Lance Archer. That's coming up on the anniversary show of Dynamite. It'll be Moxley versus Archer for the AEW title. Moxley's at a bar. He's talking about, Lance Archer and not being afraid to go out there and possibly die in his match with Archer. They had Archer did a promo as well on Moxley. They did have a very good match at Wrestle Kingdom last year. I expect them to have a good match as well coming up on Wednesday. I don't see Moxley losing the belt to Archer, though. Not here. Not now.
Yeah, I agree with you, because there's a bit of a cold, kind of build towards this, because, Archer hasn't been around. So for him just to win the title out of nowhere like this on a long-reigning champion, it really just feels kind of out of nowhere, and it would kind of do a disservice to the title reign that Mox has had so far. So maybe Archer will win the title, but it has to be in a rematch at the pay-per-view, I think.
Maybe, but I think while you're having a tournament for a world title shot, maybe you kind of hold off on title changes while that tournament's going on. Because you would figure that the winner of this tournament would be maybe the person to take the title off John Moxley and not Lance Archer. By the way, they have announced more entrants into this tournament. Jungle Boy, Rey Fenix, Kenny Omega, Wardlow, Colt Cabana, and Hangman Page, all official for this thing. They have announced 6 members of this tournament. 2 more will enter. It's going to be an 8-man tournament with the finals at Full Gear. So they're going to have to get this tournament started real soon. But Kenny Omega finding out this week that, as he put him, tag team wrestler Hangman Page is in this tournament. Kenny did seem bothered by that. I think everybody expects Kenny and Hangman to do battle in the finals of this thing, which would make a whole lot of sense. Right?
Well, if anything, I kind of wish it wasn't a tournament, because it seems a little too obvious that it's going to be them, right? So I kind of wish this was just like a one-match kind of deal, set it up where it's going to be them, because why go through like weeks and weeks of where you know it's going to be them anyways?
So maybe it shouldn't be them.
Yeah, but you know it's going to be though.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how when Cody won the TNT title, like it had to be him.
The first time?
Yeah, the first time in the tournament, it had to be Cody.
Because he just won it again. I think it was match of the night at Dynamite. I really enjoyed the dog collar match. Very violent. Cody was bleeding. Brody was bleeding. I thought it was great stuff. A little too much extra, though, in the match. I would have liked it to have been more Cody versus Brody, but as soon as the match started, John Silver got busted open by the chain there. Like, he was bleeding, like, right away. I feel like somebody on the outside shouldn't bleed before somebody that's in the match. Like, the first blood in the match should be somebody in the match, because that's where you're going to feel the most impact. Somebody outside the ring's bleeding, it's like, yeah, okay. Then when Cody and Brody started bleeding, I was like, yeah, all right, I've already seen somebody bleed tonight. I didn't like that Silver got busted open right away. Whatever. So Silver was involved, and then Brody at one point instructs Anna Jay to escort Silver backstage. So he's like, get out of here. He gets rid of them. I don't know why. Arn Anderson was interacting in the match a lot. Alex Reynolds showed up from the Dark Order, took a spine buster from Arn during the match. And then it just kind of kept going and going. I thought the match was a little too long. It was good, but I thought a little too long and a little too much outside interference. A little too many people getting involved, you know?
I understand you, and yeah, at times, sometimes in Cody matches, we saw this in the match with Archer too, where there's just a little too much, like in the finish with how they got Tyson involved. There's just a little too much, a little too convoluted the way they put things together. But I get it, because you try to make it as exciting as possible. And the thing with Silver didn't bleed that much though. He was like a little bit of a nick. If anything, they were just selling the fact that if you get hit with the chain, you're gonna bleed. And that's what happened to Brody and Cody, and
Yeah.
a lot more compared to Silver. I mean, Cody, one side of his face completely bled, and I feel like Brody, like Crimson Mask completely. I don't know if you noticed that. Like, I really appreciate that the amount of blood that we saw in that match. It really sold the fact that dog collar matches are very violent.
Yes.
And it was also very cool that Greg Valentine was at ringside as well.
Yes. Very cool to see Greg the Hammer. Great to see him still alive, you know? He's been around for so long. He's an old guy.
And he traveled there too.
Yeah. And he, you know, him and Piper had maybe the greatest dog collar match of all time. So good to see that history getting honored, and Cody and Brody going at it and having a bloody affair in the dog collar match that leads to Cody becoming now a two-time TNT champion. He takes the title back from Brody Lee, but he will be defending it against Orange Cassidy next week on Dynamite in the anniversary show. Does he drop it to Orange? I feel like maybe he will. There are 3 title matches on this show. Jon Moxley defending the world title against Archer. I don't think we see a title change there. FTR defending the tag titles against Best Friends. We're not going to see a title change there. But Cody versus Orange, you know, they've been building Orange. Why did Cody come back to beat Brody to take the title? I think Brody versus Orange straight up. Orange beating Brody is not really believable, but Orange beating Cody at this point is more believable. I can see it happening. I think Orange is going to be the new TNT champion. I think Cody won it to drop it.
Well, I think you're right, because they can play off the story that he's weakened right after that kind of match, and the fact that he shouldn't have accepted that challenge right away. And plus, apparently there's 4 title matches, by the way.
Oh.
Because the women's title is also in line. So, yeah, if there's going to be 4 title matches, there should be at least 1 title change.
Who's Sheeta defending against?
Big Swole, because she won against Serena Dip, I believe. That was a good match, too. Right?
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was all right.
Serena's very good. I feel like all the AEW women are having their best match against Serena Deeb.
Well, we haven't seen her do that much, but from what we've seen from the limited sample that we've seen, it seems like that so far.
Yeah. She's the most solid hand that they have right now. She's the most consistent. I'm looking around at the AEW women's roster, and I feel like Serena is having the most consistently good matches every time she goes out there, which is a testament to how good she is. FTR beat TH2 to retain the tag team titles this week. What is with the acronym tag teams? FTR last week beat SCU. This week they beat TH2, and they are currently involved with a feud with TBF and TYB. What is going on in AEW? TBF, by the way, the best friends.
Yeah.
TYB, the Young Bucks. FTR, fuck the Revival. No, that's not it.
I think it's
Fear the Retribution.
Revelation, which I think might be one of the names of one of the members, right? If I'm not mistaken, but
Fear the Revolution. Retribution. Fear. No. Follow the rheumatoid arthritis. I don't know. FTR beats TH2, and then the Young Bucks are backstage. They super kick the cameraman. And then the best friends show up, and they've got FTR shirts with FTR dressed as hot dogs on their T-shirts. And Trent's like, get it? Wieners, because you're weenies. So the weenie thing is not only something that they're saying in their promos, they've now made T-shirts with FTR dressed as hot dogs. Trent says that they are comedy backyard wrestlers, but FTR, they're weenies. And then Chuck says that they're the number one contenders, and their title match will be next week. They fight a bit, FTR bails, and the best friends hold up the tag team titles as close as they'll get to the belts for the foreseeable future. Because, FTR is not dropping to the best friends here. Come on. That's ridiculous. They're going to face the Young Bucks at some point. I think Full Gear, Bucks, FTR. That's the big match for the tag team titles. It should be amazing. And that's basically what happened on Dynamite this week. FTR and TH2. What'd you think of that match, and what's going on with FTR and the best friends?
Well, until we got to the dog collar match, I thought that was the match of the night. I didn't think anything was going to beat that, but we got the dog collar match. But I thought that was a great match. Again, showing you that the tag division, it's one of the most important division, if not the most important division in AEW. Showing you that tag team wrestling should be taken seriously.
Yep. They have a good tag team division. The best tag team division in professional wrestling as far as I'm concerned. No other wrestling company has put this much emphasis on their tag team division, and it shows. You look at WWE, even New Japan Pro Wrestling, who do wrestling very, very well. Their tag team division is weak as hell. It's almost weaker than WWE's. And AEW's is just chock full of great tag teams. Tons of them. It's really cool. I like their tag team division. It's a lot of fun. How about the FTR title defended in the opening match? Brian Cage beating Will Hobbs. Taz cutting a post-match promo asking Hobbs to join Team Taz. And then Darby Allin showed up to make sure Hobbs didn't get beat up by Team Taz for not joining them. Starks was on commentary with Taz during the Brian Cage-Willie Hobbs match. Ricky Starks said jack shit on commentary. What's the point of being a wrestler on commentary if you say, nothing? Taz did a bunch of talking. Taz on commentary while his guy Brian Cage is defending the FTR title is super weird because Taz almost calls it down the middle. He's complimenting Will Hobbs. It's really weird. I don't know why they do that, but I hate it. I hated Ricky Starks' non-commentary on commentary. I was like, dude, this is your chance to talk. Say something. He said 3 words. It's why are you here? And Taz is supposed to be in Brian Cage's corner, but instead he's on commentary complimenting Will Hobbs. I didn't like that. Didn't like that at all. And the Will Hobbs-Brian Cage match itself, I didn't hate, but, whatever.
All right, I thought again, it's opening match. I thought it was fine, and it's
Yeah.
nice to see Brian Cage wrestle someone who can give him like some somewhat competition. I
Mhm.
didn't think Brian Cage would lose, but it seemed like they were trying to make Will Hobbs into something. So I appreciate what they're trying to do. Like if you think about it, Will Hobbs really came out of absolute nowhere. So
Yeah.
for him just to get this kind of position was kind of a big deal for him. So that's kind of cool that they're trying to build new stars. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. I didn't care about him though. I was like, who is this again? Like I'm kind of familiar with him, but nah. Was this his
Right.
first singles match on Dynamite? Must have been, right? Was it his first match on Dynamite? Has he been in a tag team? Like he had one tag match maybe on Dynamite?
Yeah, I feel like he may have had a match somewhere or something. Like didn't he wrestle Darby Allin, I feel, on Dynamite? I could be wrong about that, but he may
Maybe.
have.
Maybe. But he's not like a guy that I'm all that familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Although they did say something on commentary. I don't know if it's true. They seem to did you hear them say that Will Hobbs' brother wanted to be his like manager in wrestling? But there was gunfire and Will Hobbs' brother his brother like took a bullet for him, like shielded him from the bullets and died. Yeah. And now Will Hobbs is like wrestling for the memory of his brother. Like, is that a shoot story? Sorry for saying shoot. Is that a real story? Like, that's awful.
You don't have to worry about saying that because I know what you mean when you say that.
You know what
I
mean. But, I shouldn't say shoot when we're talking about a shooting. Is that a shooting? Or is that a work shooting? I think it was a shooting. That's horrible, man. Well, I feel for Will Hobbs. Like, I can't imagine. I have a brother. Like, that's horrible. So sad.
It is very sad. It's just I kind of wish he would have been able to tell that story.
Yeah.
Instead of the commentators.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been a better way to help introduce him because, I mean, we haven't really been introduced to him very well. He just came out of nowhere. So,
you're right.
I mean, to introduce him with that kind of thing, I think people would be more invested in him. You're invested just by hearing that.
Yeah, that's it. Commentary talking about it, I was like, damn, is that real? What's going on there? But to hear Will Hobbs do a promo on it, maybe before the match or before a big match or at some point, I think would definitely help his character. It would help gain sympathy for him as a babyface, at least, you would hope, although people are fucking heartless these days, so who knows what gains sympathy. Black man getting shot. If it was a cop shooting his brother, some people would be sympathetic, but other people would not be for some reason because the world has gone completely crazy. Crazy, baby. All right, I'm going crazy. It's time to wrap up this sucker. Let me tell you about our friends over at IPVanish, though, before we go to vpn.ringsidereport.net. Subscribe to IPVanish. Set yourself up. Protect yourself on the internet. Protect yourself at all times with IPVanish. vpn.ringsidereport.net. And, of course, go to Stitcher Premium. Go to Stitcher.com/premium. Use that promo code Ringside to sign up. You get a free month when you sign up. Stitcher.com/premium. They got over 100,000 podcasts, bonus episodes, comedy albums, and more. Go to Stitcher.com/premium. Sign up for this great audio service. $34.99 a year, just $4.99 a month. But when you sign up with the promo code Ringside, you get a free month at Stitcher Premium. Follow Johnny North on all his things at North Genesis on Twitter, Genesis Johnny North on Instagram. You can follow me at Dave Simon MMA on everything. Go to ringsidereport.net. That's where all our shows are. Ringside Report MMA live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Wrestling Uncensored drops on the channels every Saturday morning at 11 a.m., and we are your source for everything professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. It is the Ringside Report Network. Watch-alongs coming up October 24th, Khabib time, UFC 254, a special afternoon watch-along on a Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern on October 24th, and then the next night we are back at it for Hell in a Cell. WWE Hell in a Cell. We'll do a watch-along here on the channel. 7 p.m. Eastern, October the 25th. In the meantime, be sure to Subscribe to this channel right here on YouTube. Subscribe to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Ringside Report. And click the bell so you get notifications every time we are on. Like this video, leave a comment. Like us on Facebook. Like us on this YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Twitch. Do all the things. Support the Ringside Report Network. Thank you for hitting us up on Super Chat if you're watching us live here on the show. For Johnny North, I'm Dave Simon, and this has been Wrestling Uncensored.